What does that mean?
Writing your story as opposed to
Okay.
being a victim. This is what I learned in the gangs.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
it's so easy to point fingers at everyone else
No
and
kidding.
become part of their story. It's much more difficult, but also way more powerful to start writing your own story. And
You
that's
know,
leadership for me.
it is. You know, the old saying, lead by example. Whether it be a good example or a bad example, you are leading by example. And so
Totally.
your your point about leading with clarity is so right on. And I also want to make one more quick point about your victim thing. You know, stop pointing fingers at people. I wrote that book, American Grit. It's about the Japanese American concentration camps, and I wrote it to help remind people and make sure we don't forget that experience that happened. But the underlying story about it is that a lot of these people who were thrown into these camps, they didn't blame anybody. They refused to be victims.
Mm.
And instead they took responsibility for their circumstances, even though they had nothing to do with it. And they went out and changed the world. They volunteered to fight for the United States Army, who put them and their families in those camps to begin with. They refused to be victims, and they went out, and a lot of them died during the war, but became among the most decorated war heroes in the history of the country. So I love that. I love that thread of leadership, and don't be pointing fingers. Because you disempower yourself. When you do that and you blame others, you are giving somebody else your power to get things done, right?
And I think like I'm looking at okay, so how do I do this? What's the skill that I
Yeah.
practice to do more of
Yeah.
this? And I think it's authenticity. I think it's creativity and authenticity and having a stronger, more original stance, take, view on things, important things, developing my own style, my own personality, not copycatting and just following others, but actually like stepping into something new for me. I just think those are two business values, creativity and authenticity, that don't get talked about nearly enough in business.
I
And if
agree.
they do, it's kind of cliche. We're not actually peeling back the layers and asking, like, how can we be more creative leaders? How can we be more authentic leaders?
You know, what strikes me when you talk about authenticity, aside from the fact that I think you're absolutely right, is that authenticity is really hard.